Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel and welcome to my February TBR. Now, normally I do, or at least in the past I've done TBR jars, picking prompts, that way I can sort of try to narrow down my list that way. I haven't done it in a couple months because I've been doing some fun, different ways to pick my TBR, you know, just to make things interesting. We'll go back to the TBR prompts at some point. This month we are still not doing it that way, as you saw from the title most likely. I actually let my boyfriend pick my TBR for the month because, of course, it's Valentine's Day in February, and I felt like that would be fun to let him be the one to decide what I'm going to read. The only sort of guidance that I gave him is that I did still want those 3 non-negotiable books in the monthly TBR, so a classic, a Mary Higgins Clark, and an Agatha Christie, because I still have that goal of reading one each month like I did last year. So that was like really the only guidance that I gave him. He was like watching me while picking the books, hoping that I would give him some indication of whether or not like I was in the mood to read that genre or anything, but I told him no. I told him it could be whatever he wanted me to read or whatever like jumped out to him. So I'm pretty excited about the stack that he picked up. So for my Agatha Christie for the month, he picked Towards Zero. This one says that a famous criminologist loved murder mysteries, except for the fact that they all began with a murder. That fateful moment, he maintained, should really be the ending, the finishing stroke, or 0 hour. Unfortunately, his brilliant mind and memory for crime would be the death of him, and now it seems everyone at Gulls Point Guest House, even Superintendent Battle of Scotland Yard, is hurtling straight towards 0. That sounds like a unique twist on a typical storyline for a murder mystery, so I'm excited about that one. It doesn't sound like it has any of our normal protagonists either, which could be interesting. Then my Mary Higgins Clark for the month is Every Breath You Take. This is one of her Under Suspicion novels, which follow a TV producer that runs a TV show called Under Suspicion, where they reopen cold cases and sort of try to solve them. The main through line for all of those stories is that there's still somebody that is living in the shadow of suspicion for these crimes. So in this one, a member of the Board of Trustees of the Metropolitan Museum of Art was found dead in the snow after being thrown from the museum's roof on the night of its most celebrated fundraiser, the Met Gala. The leading suspect then and now was her much younger boyfriend and personal trainer, Ivan Gray. Ivan runs a trendy, successful boutique gym called Punch, which happens to be the gym that Lori, the TV show producer's boyfriend, frequents. Lori's skepticism about the case is upended by a tip from her father's NYPD connection, and soon Lori realizes there are a bevy of suspects, including members of the Virginia's trusted inner circle. As the Under Suspicion crew pries into the lives of a super wealthy real estate family with secrets to hide, danger mounts for several witnesses and for Lori. I think I've said this before, but like her Under Suspicion novels are definitely my favorite of hers, so I'm excited that he picked that one for this month. Then the one book that he did give me an indicator for, he picked it and he goes, "I'm really sorry." I'm like, "What?" And he goes, "Your classic for the month." He goes, "I'm really sorry." And he picked The Grapes of Wrath by John Steinbeck, which looks like it's not as long as I thought it was going to be, like almost 600 pages, which for a classic I will say is long, just because it takes a little bit to get through these. Ironically, I don't know anything about this book, which seems like a crime because this seems to be one of those books that gets referenced a lot. So it says The Grapes of Wrath summed up its era in the way that Uncle Tom's Cabin had summed up years of slavery before the Civil War. At once naturalistic epic, captivity narrative, a road novel, and transcendent gospel, Steinbeck's fictional chronicle of the Dust Bowl migration in the 1930s is perhaps the most American of American classics. It follows the movement of thousands of men and women and the transformation of an entire nation, and it also is a story of one Oklahoma family, the Jodes, who were driven off their homestead and forced to travel west to the promised land of California. Out of their trials and their repeated collisions against the hard realities of an American divided into haves and have-not, Steinbeck creates a drama that is intensely human, yet majestic in its scale and moral vision, elemental yet plain-spoken, tragic but ultimately stirring in its insistence on human dignity. That sounds like a really, really heavy read for February, when you just want everything to be light and fluffy and cute. So we'll see how that one goes. Then getting into just the other random books that he picked for me. First up, we have The Hate List. Speaking of heavy books, this one, yeah, this one. So in This one, it is about a young girl in high school whose boyfriend, trigger warning for anybody that this is going to bother, I don't even know how to describe the trigger warning, but fair warning, her boyfriend shoots up a school, and she is kind of wrapped up in this because I guess she helped make a list with him called the hate list, and now she's living with this guilt that she helped make this list with him and that he went and did this absolutely horrific thing that she never expected him to do. Lincoln. Sorry, you could probably hear Lincoln scratching on his collar. So she spent a summer in seclusion, and now she's forced to confront her guilt as she goes back to high school, try to navigate the awkwardness of going back to the school where this happened, the friendships, the relationships with her family, everything that's really, really strained and struggling, and come to grips with the tragedy that took place and her role in it in order to make amends and move on with her life. This sounds like it's also going to be really quite heavy, quite sad, definitely a hard topic to discuss considering how, unfortunately, realistic it is. So he picked that one, and then he picked The Cellar by Natasha Preston. He seems to really like this author because he put Natasha Preston on my 26 in 2026. It's just not this one. So this is about a girl who is trapped in a cellar for months with the man who took her and 3 other girls. And he calls them all by flower names. They're his perfect, pure flowers, his family. But the flowers can't survive long, cut off from the sun, and time is running out. The last time I read a Natasha Preston, I wasn't overwhelmingly enthused or impressed by it, but hopefully this one will be a little bit different. After he picked that one, he went, okay, I need something a little bit lighter, a little bit happier. I went, okay, go to these shelves. I directed him to these shelves because these are like all my romance, my contemporary romance, and stuff like that. And he picked quite the selection of romance books for the month, which I'm pretty happy with. So first up, he picked The Choice by Nicholas Sparks. This one I don't know anything about either. I was like kind of just randomly collecting Nicholas Sparks books for a little bit there because I liked the movies. I've come to realize I like the movies more than I like the books. So this one says that Travis Parker has everything a man could want: a good job, loyal friends, even a waterfront home in small town North Carolina. In full pursuit of a good life, he holds the vague conviction that a serious relationship would only cramp his style. That is until Gabby Holland moves in next door. Despite his attempts to be neighborly, the attractive redhead seems to have a grudge against him. Still, Travis can't help trying to ingratiate himself with his new neighbor, and his persistent efforts lead them both to the doorstep of a journey that neither could have foreseen. Spanning the unfold years of young love, marriage, and family, The Choice ultimately confronts us with the most heart-wrenching question of all: how far would you go to keep the hope of love alive? Sounds like it'll be cute, hopefully. I don't know. Sometimes I don't know if it's the fact that it's a male author writing romance books. I just don't like the way he depicts the women in the books sometimes, so we'll see how it goes. Then he picked The Marriage Code, which I actually picked out of like a little free library at one point, not really knowing too much about this. But the tagline at the top said "Love has no algorithm," which kind of got me hooked on it. So in this one, it follows a young woman who actually said no to her boyfriend's proposal. The only thing that she's really concerned about is her job. So she says no to this proposal, and in an effort to save her job, she recruits her colleague Rishi to be on her developmental team. The problem is that she kind of took his promotion. It wasn't his necessarily, but everybody assumed he was getting this promotion, and then she got it. And so now he's harboring like negative feelings towards her for taking this promotion. On top of that, his family is trying to pressure him into getting married, and he just doesn't know what to do with his life. The main female character, Emma, she tells him, if you accept this position on my team, I can write you up like a love algorithm, a matchmaking algorithm to find you somebody. That way your family will sort of get off your backs. It just says that neither of them expected her marriage code to work so well or to fall for one another, which leads Emma and Rishi to wonder if leaving fate to formulas is really an equation for lasting love. So I think there's like the soulmate equation or something like that also follows a similar premise, kind of. So maybe read that and someday read that other one and see which one I like better. Then he picked Hook, Line, and Sinker by Tessa Bailey. He did say he didn't want to pick any that were in series, or like, but technically this is like an interconnected standalone series, and I already read the other one, so like, I just told him that this wasn't part of a series. So this is connected to It Happened One Summer, and this one follows the sister from that book and the best friend from that book as well. And it's set in, I forget, like some New England town, I think, like that, like a fishing town. So the two of them have already interacted with each other, and they're actually like friends. They really enjoy spending time together and everything, but there's also this underlying tension because both of them are into the other one, but he doesn't do relationships. She doesn't want to do like a fling or a one-night stand, so they just agree to be friends. She comes into town and starts living with him in his spare bedroom, and of course feelings start intensifying from there, but they continue to try to deny these. He's supposed to be helping her flirt with other men and find somebody, and it just sounds like it's going to be a very like tense and angsty storyline. I really enjoyed the first one, so hopefully I will enjoy this one as well. The next one he picked was The Dead Guy Next Door by Lucy Score. Thank goodness, because I have so many Lucy Score books that I haven't gotten through. I don't know why, but there's something appealing about the size of her books, the covers. Like, I always gravitate towards these when I see them in stores. So I'm glad that I'm finally going to start these, although I know nothing about this one. It says, a nice normal life is that too much to ask for Riley Thorne. It is divorced, broke, living with a pack of elderly roommates, and those hallucinations Riley's diligently ignoring. Her mom is convinced Riley must be clairvoyant. Just when things seem like they can't get worse, so hot he should be illegal, private investigator shows up on her doorstep looking for the guy next door, who turns up murdered. Investigator Nick Santiago doesn't play well with others. He's a rebel, a black sheep, a man who prefers a buffet of options to being stuck with the same entree every night if you catch his drift. But when the pretty, possibly psychic Riley lands at the top of the suspect list for murder, Nick immediately volunteers to find out who done it. He likes solving mysteries. It has nothing to do with wanting to flex his heroic muscles for Riley. Nick and Riley must join forces to find out who really pulled the trigger, all while keeping a by-the-book, grudge-holding detective at bay and dealing with the gorgeous stranger claiming he's arrived to help Riley hone her psychic gifts, all before the killer decides to turn his sights on Riley. This definitely sounds like it's going to be way more romance than anything, like, crime-related, but it should be funny. Like, I think it'll be a good time. And then the last one that he picked, because I did say I only wanted 10 on my TBR, forgot I did give him that guideline, is The Paradise Problem by Christina Lauren. So this one is like a marriage of convenience. These two got married in college for subsidized housing benefits or something like that, and they were convinced that they had signed the divorce paperwork and that this marriage was no longer a thing. So I forget how, 3 years later, the female character Anna is not really thriving in life. She's definitely living paycheck to paycheck and sort of struggling a little bit. And he reaches out to her, he's like, hey, remember how I said we were divorced? Well, we're kind of actually not. And in order to get my inheritance, I kind of actually need to be married and like prove to my family that I'm married. So could you come on this vacation with me, with my family, so that I can get this inheritance, and then you could get some money because you helped me out and everything. So she agrees to this ridiculous scheme, and it turns into this like whole thing where obviously they're probably going to fall in love, but there's also the concern that she is going to turn from like this very naive and like loving, caring person and transform into more of what his family is like, which is like elite socialites that are a little bit vapid and selfish and everything like that. So this was actually one that Dan picked up for me when his neighbors were getting rid of some books, so I thought it was funny when he picked this one, especially because he didn't remember that he was the one that grabbed it for me. So I'm pretty excited for that list. Lots of romances for February, lots of books that I've been not avoiding on my TBR, just haven't been picking, and they've been on it for a little bit. So this will also get me through some of those, which I'm really excited about. So hopefully it'll be a great reading month. Let me know what you guys are planning to read in February. I know, like I said, a lot of people tend to read romances, so if you're planning on reading any of these, let me know, and I will hopefully see you in another video very soon. Bye!